asking these questions because campaigning for phase 1 of the Bihar elections has ended. It's ended today, and in 48 hours, polling booths will open across 122 constituencies across phase 1, and potentially a huge chunk of the 7.5 crore voters will press the button. In 2020, as the data reveals, the elections were decided by only about 12,000 voters, even though there's a disparity, as you can see, between the MGB numbers and the NDA numbers, about 8 or 9 seats between them. These 9 seats, the difference was 12,000 voters, viewers. That was the wafer-thin margin between the victorious NDA and the losing MGB, and that's confirmation, 11,150 votes to be precise. Now, viewers, out of all of this, we now know, because of this very tight finish, the 2020 results show that in the 121 to 22 seats where elections are taking place in the first phase on November 6th, there was little differentiating NDA from the MGB. So, viewers, if you look at the numbers on your screens, when you looked at, remember last time, there was more than 2 phases, there were 3 phases. And in the first phase, last time, the NDA was lagging the MGB. This time, viewers, 2 phases have been combined. The first 2 from last time, and there are about 121 seats up there. And you can see that the NDA has picked up. So as the election progressed last time, 5 years ago, the NDA picked up and then went past the MGB. That's because in phase 2 and phase 3 they did very well, which is going to be phase 2 this time. So phase 1 and phase 2 of last time is now phase 1, and you can see there's a very tight race there. The opinion polls that have been declared also seem to be hedging their bets. The Dainik Bhaskar poll is more decisive. Says the NDA is going to win about 153, 158, MGB 75 to 78. Halfway mark, as you know, is 122. The JVC poll is much more indecisive, viewers. That's what it tells you. There are others that have come out today in which the NDA is leading. But much has changed on the ground since 2020. The alliances are reconfigured and the playbook has been tweaked, which prompts us to ask some basic questions of the best experts, psephologists in the business. And you're going to watch them all through phase 1, phase 2, and of course counting day on this channel, viewers. And we're going to begin with the most basic question: will the 2025 fight be as close as the 2020 contest was? And let's open this up, viewers. Let's get a perspective from our panel. As I told you, these individuals that are with us today are the best in their field. Pradeep Gupta, Chairman and Managing Director of Axis My India, has a great track record in calling elections. Sandeep Shastri, National Coordinator for Lokniti Network, very respectable, viewers, political scientist organization. The Lokniti conducts also a number of surveys. You can bet your house on them. Rahul Verma, Senior Fellow of the CPR, will be a panelist through these elections with us. Anand Ranganathan needs no introduction, public intellectual, with us this evening. I want to begin first with Pradeep Gupta ji. So Gupta, thank you for joining us. I just want to ask you, do you believe this is going to be as close, as tight a fight as it was in 2020? I'll take this question around the table.
Thank you, Rahul, for having me here. Now, you mentioned about 2020 election. See, let me tell you, though both the Gathbandhan NDA and Mahagathbandhan secured 37% vote each, but the difference then and now is that LJP contested separately in that election, and that too, they placed all the candidates against the JDU, not against the BJP, and that dented 33 seats on account of JDU had there been a alliance of LJP, also part of alliance, the LJP, NDA would have secured 158 seats instead of 125 they secured last time, and Mahagathbandhan secured 110 seats, and the majority mark is 122 seats. So this is the difference then and now. And Sahani VIP party contested in alliance with NDA.
Yeah.
This time they are contesting in alliance with Mahagathbandhan.
So-
So this is the basic difference then and now.
So are you saying that the return of the LJP is making NDA's claim on power stronger? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, on the paper, if you see in that sense, yes, it is the case. But each and every election has a different dynamics altogether. People vote based on their needs, their expectations, and they see and evaluate very thoroughly. Because my firm belief is that 100 vote cast, 80% life is directly or indirectly impact basis the government of the day. So they elect and select leader or party very carefully. So while costing vote this time, they will have to see what is there, what kind of, I always say that Vade, Dave and Irade. Vade is something the challenger will post forward. If they are elected, these are the promises they are making. And Dave is something the incumbent government pushed forward. This is what we have done, and this is the reason why just before 1 month before the election, NDA government has sent 10,000 rupees in the accounts of women, and that to 1 crore 40 lakhs women out of total in the state about 3.5 crore. 1 crore 40 lakhs is a substantive number.
That is
So
very
this
significant.
is all these things people will see to it, and the future, particularly 5 years, they have to deal with this state government. So this is what is important at this point of time.
So that's very interesting, Mr. Sandeep Shastri. If you were to extrapolate from where Pradeep Gupta has left off, you could say that, look, getting the combination, the coalition combination, the caste math, and perhaps the cash that you're spending legitimately on voters is going to really be the differentiator. It doesn't really matter what you've done in government for 5 years. Perhaps it does count, but if you have got the right caste combinations, you've played your cards there, you've done the maths, you've crossed the T and you've dotted the I's, you're through.
Rahul, I think Pradeep ji made certain very interesting points. Merely looking at the 2020 vote share and seat share and looking at the current elections, I don't think it's a simple electoral arithmetic that works out that way.
Okay.
Very often in this electoral game, 2 plus 2 is sometimes 22 and not necessarily 4. So while I will look at previous alliances, I think it's also important to look at the dynamics of the alliance that is emerging. On the one hand, you have an NDA which is going with the leadership of the Prime Minister. That same NDA is also facing a situation where there seems to be some anti-incumbency sentiment against the Chief Minister. This is a very interesting mix, you see. Support for the NDA, that's what all the non-JDU parties in NDA are banking on the Prime Minister. It's only the JDU which is talking of its leader in this particular poll. On the other hand, you have a Mahagathbandhan where you finally, on the last day, declare a Chief Minister candidate, and that also does not seem to go well with all the partners, and you have the infighting very clearly there. And therefore, you have challenges in both the coalitions. The chemistry of the two coalitions, I think, is a challenge. But Rahul, I'll make two more quick points. I think the deciders in this election will be two factors: the woman vote and the youth vote. Last time, women voted much more than men in Bihar, and that's possibly because the male voter was outside the state. And indications are that the woman vote, if it is going to be much higher than the male vote, it is going to benefit the NDA at the end of the day. But for me, Rahul, the most important factor in this election is the youth vote.
Youth.
The youth accounts for 1 out of every 4 votes in the state, which is the highest in any state of India. The importance of the youth vote, I think, is critical, and it cuts across all the demographics, be it caste, be it region, be it the alliances, and women.
Right.
The youth vote matters, this 18 to 30 age group matters. And this is an age group which has been socialized in the last 20 years, when Nitish has been chief minister for most of this time, save for 5-6 months in the middle. So I think all these dynamics are in play, and therefore it makes this election an extremely interesting election.
That's a very interesting point, Rahul Verma, that it's this floating voter, the youth voter, that's going to decide. Now, we know there's a PK factor. I'll just bring that up with all of us in just a few moments. But do you believe this is a floating vote that is going to be the decisive one? If the women are ranged on the side of the NDA, the Yadavs and perhaps the minorities are on the side of the MGB, then this is the unknown X.
Thank you, Rahul. Let me make 4 points. First, I think in comparison to 2020, we all did the numbers, but LJP had some 24 lakh vote and VIP has some 6 lakh vote, right? And so you just transfer that. I think on paper, NDA seems to have an advantage given the kind of coalition they have. And also, I think at the non-striker end, MGB has Congress, which didn't perform well last time. So that gives NDA advantage. But given what has happened, like the polling history actually suggests Bihar is one of the toughest state to call, one of the tougher state to call. And it's because of turnout dynamics and a couple of those kind of things which create sort of like some difficulty in calling the state. So yes, the election may look close. In the end, it won't be close. In the end, it is going to be decisive in one direction. Second, I think while women vote is going, like, I think so far we have an indication of women vote going in Bihar in favor of NDA and Nitish Kumar. I don't think there is going to be any drastic change. Even opinion polls indicate that NDA has an advantage among women voters. Now, the critical factor which Sandeep ji talked about, youth voter, unless there is a serious anger among young voters, the youth turnout is not going to be any different than it was in 2020. And the reason why I'm saying this, that the 2020 elections happened at the peak of pandemic, meaning there were more people at home than they are going to be now or any other time, right? So unless there is a massive increase in turnout, which there is no sort of like indication, and two, unless there are more youth proportionately compared to the 2020 election, I don't think youth alone can turn this election, right? So while it's an important factor, MGB has some lead among young voters, as some opinion polls have indicated, and that lead is actually not coming among young voters. It's actually young men between 18 to 30 who are looking for employment, while NDA leads among young women voters. So when you think of that 1:4 ratio of young voters, remember that every second voter is also a young woman.
That's very interesting. That is actually very interesting and sobering. So we are talking about now, most importantly, viewers, turnout. And turnout perhaps will hold the key. If it's big turnout, then you can expect certain big changes to take place. Let me just quickly bring in, before I bring in Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly, I want to bring in Pradeep Gupta. Gupta ji, I just have to ask you, any projections made by you? You've positioned yourself as the last word. So, any projections?
No. So, Rahul, at Axis My India, we never ever come out any kind of projections as far as the number of seats, or for that matter, what would be the likely outcome. at Access My India, we always come out with the exit poll numbers, which will happen only after the second phase of polling is concluded, which is on the 11th of November.
Okay, so let me ask a more basic question. Is 2025 now going to be just a two-way fight? There was this PK factor, and we're going to go across once again through our panelists and ask them about the PK factor. But Dr. Ranganathan, it looks to me that PK has made an impression, but may not be able to, beyond traction, get votes. He's sort of drawn to his own limitations, not contesting this election, suggesting that perhaps he'll give it another 5 years. But fundamentally, is this becoming a two-way fight? And in your mind, do you believe that this is going to be a close election?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. And I must clarify out here that I speak purely as a layman and a common man, and not as the other three who are absolute experts in this field. So I am a scientist, unlike the political scientists, the three of them out there. So my neck is not on the block. Very many of the panelists, their necks have been on the block, so much so many of them are headless right now. But I'd like to say a couple of things. Look, the first thing that comes to mind when you talk of Bihar election is red herring prospectus. This is one of those elections that comes with read the offer documents carefully, because the absolute truth is that none of the previous outcomes or the data points are effective in analyzing what is happening right now, purely for the fact of post-poll alliances. So you cannot, in fact, make any inference from the numbers, because the people who were given tickets, the people who fought in particular constituencies, fought so when JDU was in alliance with another member, that alliance then broke and JDU came in alliance with another member. So this is a bit like Mahavikas Aghadi. And that is the reason why I feel that Election Commission has to seriously look at and make post-poll alliances illegal. Because you fight the elections on the plank that so-and-so party is corrupt and vote for us, because we will never make an alliance with that party, and suddenly after polls, you make an alliance with that party. So it is actually, making a mockery of the mandate that you've got. Be that as it may, there are three things, and I dare say the BJP out of all three is particularly well placed. If you look at the close history, and I'll give you one example to make it clearer. In Tripura, the BJP vote share has increased from 9% to 40%. Now that is astonishing. And the reason for that is because the delivery, for example, of Ayushman cards increased from 5 to 53%. The tap water connections increased from 7 to 60%. So BJP is very good at delivering, and whatever promises that it may have are done by the allies. What do I mean by that? For example, and of course this is freebism gone haywire. You had the BJP mocking Rahul Gandhi's khatakat schemes and everything. Right now what you're seeing in Bihar is nothing but khatakat. But the fact of the matter is that BJP doesn't just promise it, because they have it in them to deliver it, like they did in Maharashtra. You had that scheme whereby they actually put in 1,500 rupees per month to every eligible Maharashtrian woman age 21 to 60, costing the exchequer 50,000 crores, but that doesn't matter because they won. So now they know they don't just deliver on these freebies or khatakat schemes, they actually, they don't just promise it, they deliver it. Look at on the other side what is happening, the issues. If you seriously look at the data of unemployment, you look at the latest periodic labor force survey, it tells you that Bihar unemployment rate above 15 and over is actually lower than the national average. You look at the inflation. Right now, inflation might be actually at a 17-year low of 1.53%. You look at the participation of women in labor force. You look at a few other schemes. And then you look at the promises that are being made by Tejasvi. For example, he's promised one government job of every household. That means 30 million government jobs have been promised. Till now, the total number of government jobs in the state of Bihar is 2.5 million. So even if they don't want to, even the supporters are left wondering,
Yeah.
what kind of promise is this? This would never be fulfilled, as opposed to the freebie promises that BJP is fulfilling. So it is a bit of a seesaw battle, and you cannot infer from the previous data. But I would say, I would agree with, the senior fellow of CPG, Mr. The previous panelist out here, that Rahul ji, I beg your pardon, is that the BJP and the allies have an edge. It will be a decisive mandate.
Okay, so let me just ask this, because look, some of the statistics that have been rattled off by Dr. Ranganathan, Rahul Verma and Mr. Shastri are the dismal employment situation. Let's not run away from it. Yes, there have been some improvements, but as you know, the youth wants a lot more. There's inflation, there are other pressures. So the case for PK would be very strong. So that's why I come back to this question. Is this really a two-way fight, or is there a third way? And that's the PK way. And that's going to really be the joker, so to speak, in the pack.
Yes, we will find that out on November 14th. See, political startup is a really, really hard thing to crack. Most parties, when they enter the market, they are likely to fail than succeed. And to them, even to cross 10 to 15% vote share, which is basically getting some startup capital, is hard. You have very few examples. There are 3 successful examples. One was TDP in Andhra Pradesh, the other one Assam Gon Parishad in Assam 1985, and the third one is Aam Aadmi Party Delhi when they got like the second or third position. These 3 were based on back of serious protest politics or some sort of like extraordinary situations when parties were able to catapult themselves to an X factor. The other cases where parties were able to get 10 or 11% vote were either when, like, say, Yadurappa in Karnataka, right, or Vijay Kant in Tamil Nadu. Either you have an extraordinary fan following, or you had a leadership that goes back to decades. So I'm not taking anything from Prashant Kishore, but history suggests it is very, very difficult for him to basically cross that hurdle. And what seems like, if there is any tracker, I think Prashant Kishore had better number than like a month ago than what he might be having now. Because now, closer to election, now people are going to make real calls. So yes, I like Prashant Kishore, but am I going to bet my vote on that? I think that might be changing now.
Yeah, so the C voter tracker seems to suggest that there's waning enthusiasm. It's still high, but it's waning. So Mr. Shastri, PK not a factor at all, or will he end up only playing the role of a spoiler? And if he ends up playing that role, who is more vulnerable to him?
Rahul, there is no question of doubt that PK has aroused a lot of interest among the people, especially among the younger lot. However, I think there is a huge question mark as to whether that interest will translate itself into votes on the polling day. Because people may support what he's saying, be interested in what he's saying, but at the end of the day, the voter is looking at who has a better chance to form the government in the post-election days. So I think when it comes to voting, there will be a challenge. And to add to the point which Rahul Verma ji made, the 3 cases he referred to of a new party doing very well were all 3 cases where the party was able to benefit from an intensely strong anti-incumbency against a government in power. And you do not have such a situation today in Bihar. As I mentioned earlier, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, the NDA is taking its message forward. The only X factor there, as I said, is the slight fatigue element with the leadership of the Chief Minister. And therefore, very cleverly, the NDA does not project a Chief Minister candidate.
No, which brings me to this question. Is Nitish's weakness overhyped? So Pradeep ji, I'll come to you on that. But Mr. Shastri, is the weakness, and let's put that question out there, that's the other question that I want to ask. Is Nitish's weakness, Mr. Shastri, overhyped? Is he still, therefore, a very cogent and extremely important cog in the NDA wheel, and that a lot of people are sort of drawing inferences from a lot of wishful thinking.
Rahul, when it comes to Nitish and the JDU, let's not forget that there is a core vote base that the party and its leader has. And it's because of that core vote base that the BJP thinks it's important to keep Nitish on their side. That core vote base is important. And therefore, I go back to the question I raised that the NDA strategy is go into this race under the leadership of the Prime Minister, not declare a candidate for your alliance.
Yeah.
Let Nitish and JDU be where they are, but everybody else looks at the leadership of the Prime Minister, and that's the strategy which I think the NDA is employing in a way to set aside or put on the back burner any possibility of adverse impact of anti-incumbents.
So very quickly, Pradeep ji, the Nitish factor, weakness overhyped, sir, in your opinion?
Not a single % doubt in anybody's mind. After 20 years of rule as a chief minister continuously, barring few, 15 months of Manji, 20 years is a too big a time. I mean, obvious fatigues will come in the way. But the question is, if not Nitish, then who? What is the alternate before the people? We have seen very clearly in Hindi Patti, I am talking about the entire country, in Hindi Patti in particular, Bihar has never witnessed the rule of BJP. Whereas in last 10 to 15 years, all the states, Hindi Patti particularly, has witnessed the rule of BJP. Even to that extent, Odisha, non-Hindi speaking, Assam, and so 2-3 northeastern states has seen the BJP rule. So there is a larger section of the society, they want to see BJP also in Bihar. And after BJP, there is a Tejasvi and then Prashant. So these are the alternate available before the people when they go and cast the vote.
Very interesting. So Dr. Ranganathan, you raised your hand, and also take this question about Jungle Raj and whether it will continue to haunt Tejasvi. And that's the other question I just want to quickly prompt there for our viewers. Yes.
Now, I was in fact just coming to Jungle Raj or law and order, as I was saying, because that's one thing that we had not discussed. This is a clear and decisive issue in the minds of the Bihari voter. And whatever little I have information of regarding the impending elections, this is going to be a major issue. You look at, for example, some of the candidates that are now RJD candidates, in particular Osama Shahabuddin, and you look at the other things, and you look at the songs that are being made and that are being played in hinterland, and the lack of condemnation of people glorifying, of all things, the Jungle Raj, will have a decisive outcome as far as these elections are concerned. And you look at the data, of course, as I said, it has to be seen with a pinch of salt, but you look at the crime rate per lakh population, and Bihar is ranked 15th among states. So it is not that Bihar is now a Jungle Raj or law and order is out of control.
Okay,
it has been controlled.
But Rahul Verma, very quickly on this point of Jungle Raj, the voter, as Mr. Shastri pointed out, has been socialized only in the last 20 years or so. Memory about what transpired 20 years ago may not be, they may not be able to sort of, picture it. Yes, there's anecdotal, memories, etc. on that point. And also, look, it's not as if the BJP and the JDU have not given tickets to criminals.
True.
So doesn't that cancel out?
So I think, criminal politicians are part and parcel of India's political life, and Bihar is notorious for that. The 2020 assembly in Bihar has 50% of MLAs having serious IPC crime. So both alliances, all parties give tickets to criminal candidates, and there are well-documented reasons for it. I think the point that Anandji is sort of like referring to about Jungle Raj, and you also mentioned whether the memories are going to be there or not. So two things on that. One, I think any narrative has very differential impact on different sections of the society. right? So there is a reason why in opinion polls, you are seeing young men tilting towards MGB across caste, right? So yes, that memory has weakened, while BJP and sort of like JDU will try to, they're saying to elders that make that point. So it's weak, but this cannot completely go away.
Okay, can't go away. Mr. Shastri, yes, you were raising your hand, and a quick 10-second question to you after that. Yes.
A small quibble with Rahul on that point. Let's remember that there is also a 30+ voter population in Bihar who has possibly lived their childhood and a little older age also under earlier regimes. So that would be there in the minds of people. And even in the younger generation, while they have been socialized largely under Nitish's chief ministership, I think the references to what happened in the past would very much be there. But then the counterpoint which Rahul also made, that this is not the prerogative of only one group. We are seeing
that's
among candidates of the NDA.
Exactly. So very quickly now, gentlemen, I'm going to put you both on the spot. Pradeep Gupta has chickened out. He's saying, I'm going to tell you only on exit poll day. I'm not going to ask you for a seat prediction, but vote share predictions. Mr. Shastri, what do you think?
Now, I would say that it's going to be a very close race with a small percentage difference. I think the NDA has its nose ahead. And the only X factor they are facing is the possible fatigue with the chief minister. The Gathbandhan
will it be a 40% plus vote share for the NDA?
I think the gap will be very, I wouldn't hazard a number, but I would say the gap would be very less between the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan, but they are likely to be ahead of the Mahagathbandhan.
Okay. Rahul Verma.
Oh, I will definitely chicken out on this. Vote share is harder to predict than seats, right? Because vote share can only be estimated from polls. So yeah, like I think it's going to be an exciting election.
Exciting election. Last ball time. Last ball, last over, T20 match. Okay, well, viewers, we're going to be focused on that like lasers. In 2 days, it all kicks off. 3-4 days after that, you'll have the exit polls, and within the week, viewers, you'll have the results. So it's all going to take off from day after. We're going to be here from 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, what have you, to take you through all of that. But let's just move on, because, viewers, there is something disturbing. Look, there is electioneering, and then there is cynical electioneering, and I want to begin by pointing out the obvious to you. We know that the Indian Armed Forces live and die as one. You can see, viewers, in the middle of your screens. There's nothing that differentiates them from each other when the tricolor is draping their sacrifice. After all, a bullet doesn't differentiate either. Death stalks all equally in the forces, which is why the army knows no caste, creed, or class. Courage is the only attribute that is respected and the only identity that is worn with pride in the Indian Armed Forces. That is why politicians, viewers, who view the forces from the prism of identity are committing an unforgivable sin. A Bharatiya Sena with soldiers split along class, caste and creed will not be able to put service to the nation above self. And which is why, viewers, tonight, Rahul Gandhi's remarks in the final overs of campaigning today are so disturbing. In claiming that a small coterie of upper caste, 10% to be precise, control the entire forces, the Congress scion is sowing the seeds of caste resentment in our armed forces amongst our uniformed men and women who see each other only through the prism of the nation and their Indianness views. Listen to Rahul Gandhi.
सबसे बड़ी कंपनी की आप लिस्ट निकालिए और इसमें पिछड़ा, अति पिछड़ा, दलित, महादलित, अल्पसंख्यक, आदिवासी को ढूंढ के निकाल दीजिए, आपको कोई नहीं मिलेगा। आपको एक नहीं मिलेगा, सारे के सारे 10% आबादी में से आते हैं। सारा बैंक का धन उनको जाता है, सारी नौकरियां उनको जाती हैं, ब्यूरोक्रेसी में उनको जगह मिलती है। आप जुडिशरी देखिए, वहां भी उनको सब मिलता है। सेना में उनका कंट्रोल है,
सेना में उनका कंट्रोल है। व्यूअर्स, as a mature politician, you know when you have to draw that Lakshman Rekha, you know when you have to make a distinction between institutions. Everything and anything cannot be up for politicization. In independent India, recruitment to India's forces are not subjected to quotas, and there is no visible discrimination. And this was a deliberate choice for the reasons listed above, as I told you. To be sure, only usurpers like the British recruited from among certain denominations to ensure that the forces would never rise up as one. They learned from 1857. In independent India, that practice has been abandoned to the point where even those stratifications, even along regions, are now dissipating. And the motto inscribed upon the military insignia is a visible testament to the forces' service to this nation first. Viewers, Seva Parmo Dharma, service before self, is our only dharma, is that motto. The question then is, why is Rahul Gandhi willing to undermine the holiest code to sow the seeds of caste discord in our forces? What does one call a politician who is willing to blur every moral line for votes or cross it for votes? Fundamental question tonight, viewers, and I want to go straight across to Professor Muni and bring in Sanju Verma on this. General Bakshi is here with us, an army man who served with distinction, taken a bullet, and I don't believe that in the trenches he ever asked anyone their caste. So, Professor Muni, what's going on here? Is Rahul Gandhi today so morally bankrupt that he's willing to politicize our army, our forces, our military, our navy, our air force? What's wrong with him?
See, Rahul ji, very less people in our country today have the caliber to speak for the downtrodden. Rahul Gandhi is one of them and media isn't. Facts are with him. Yes, very less people from the backward communities are in judiciary and army. It's a fact. As per the collegium appointments of 540 judges appointment in 2018 to 2022, only 22 were from SC/ST community. This is on record. 4%, 4% hai wo log. In army, let's talk about army now. Army, SC/ST combined make up to 8 to 10% of total armed forces strength as per Lok Sabha question answered by Minister of State for Defence, Dr. Subhas Bamre, on Parliament, in Parliament. At the commissioning level, the gap is stark. In 1970, SC representation in the Indian Military Academy was a mere 1%, as revealed in parliamentary responses to queries from leaders like Jagjeevan Ram. Recent studies of 2020 show that SC/ST officers is less than 2%. Now compare this with US. US launched aggressive programs to include minority army officers after Vietnam War and raised percentage of black officers from 1% to 20%. But we are still at 2% inclusion of backward communities. Why? Doesn't it affect you as a journalist? You would have also faced caste discrimination. Don't you think that the backward
Are you telling me, Professor Muni, that when people are asked to do exercises to recruit, or when they're sitting for the NDA exam, they are being sorted out because of their caste? Is that what you're suggesting tonight? Yes or no? Just quickly answer. I want a brief answer, please.
No, not at all.
Yeah, then that's it. Then that's it, viewers. That's about it. Let me bring in Sanju Verma and the general. We've heard you, sir. We've heard you. You've given us a lengthy response. We've heard your statistics. Yes, Sanju Verma, quick one, and General Bakshi after that. General Bakshi is probably shocked tonight.
Rahul, I mean,
Yes.
Rahul, I need my time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
you gave a lengthy monologue
No, go
to
ahead,
Mr.
go ahead,
Akash
ma'am.
Meet
Go
me.
ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah, please don't rush me. Thank you. First point is this, that who dumped the Kaka Kalelkar committee recommendations which wanted to give reservation to backward classes? It was none other than Pandit Nehru. Who dumped the Mandal Commission report? First, it was Rahul Gandhi's grandmother Indira Gandhi, then Rahul Gandhi's father Rajiv Gandhi. The Mandal Commission was implemented by the VP Singh government, which was supported on the outside by the BJP. It was the National Front government which the VP Singh dispensation was heading in those days. So the Congress has not covered itself in glory as far as empowering backward communities goes. The second point I want to make is who gave constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes, which was pending for the longest time. Rahul, it happened under the aegis of Narendra Modi. My third and very limited point is this. I think one of the committees or foundations, as you might want to call it, which is very, very close to Rahul Gandhi and the entire Gandhi Parivar, is the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. Who are the members of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation? Sonia Gandhi. Is she a Dalit or an Adivasi or a Mahadalit? Rahul Gandhi is a member. He has himself said he's a Dattatreya called Brahmin. Priyanka Vadra is a member of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. Is she a Dalit or a Mahadalit? No. Suman Dubey is one of the founding members. Is he a Dalit? No. P. Chidambaram is one of the trustees. Is he a Dalit, Mahadalit or Adivasi? No. Vijay Mahajan is one of the trustees of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. Is he a Dalit, Adivasi or Mahadalit? No. Montek Singh Ahluwalia is one of the trustees of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. Is he a Dalit, Adivasi or Mahadalit? No. So the next point is, Rahul, through your show, I want to convey to the Congress and Rahul Gandhi in particular, charity begins at home. Why don't you, with great band, baza, fanfare, get in some Dalits, Mahadalits and Adivasis into your Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, which is what you are so possessive about, which your family runs like its own personal fiefdom. And my final point is this. Imagine bringing the army into it. When I look at the army chief, I just remember it is a man called General Upendra Dwivedi. When I look at the Navy chief, I just look at a man called Admiral Dinesh Tripathi. When I look at the Indian Air Force chief, I just look at a man called Amarpreet Singh. And all these men did us proud during Operation Sindoor. अभी कौन दलित है, महादलित है, सिख है, मुसलमान है, पंजाबी है, सिंधी है, कश्मीरी है? We don't get into that. So like I said before every election, if you look at the template, Rahul Gandhi comes up with this divisive, caste-based narrative only to confuse voters.
But you need to draw a line, viewers. Every institution is not open for this kind of divisiveness. General Bakshi,
Exactly.
you heard the professor rattling figures about underrepresentation. He talked about the the US Army that has brought in the minorities in the form of blacks and put them at 20% or what have you. Why does this not work for the army, sir?
Look, Rahul, can I make a passionate appeal as a veteran with snow white hair to all these politicians? For God's sake, leave the armed forces alone. They have stood you well. Over the decades since independence, they fought every war and come out with flying colors. Why are you bent upon destroying this institution which has saved the country so far? Is one of the most respected institutions in the country, and we had trenchantly refused to accept the caste system. We had trenchantly refused to accept any reservations, any quotas in the military. We had said the only criteria is merit. You are physically fit, you shoot straight, you come in. We have got open arms for you. When I joined my regiment, I was told, keep your bloody caste, your creed and any other sub-nationalistic tendencies outside the unit door. Otherwise, we will kick you out. Right? हम सब भारतीय हैं. We are all Indians in the Indian Army. And we do not want to get in this pernicious disease of caste and creed. Is caste an Indian word? It is not. It comes from the Portuguese word casta. There was no word in the Indian language called caste. The British, Herbert Hope Risley, that so-called census commissioner, you know what he said?
Yeah.
As long as there is caste, there will be no India. The prime fault line they used to make Indian fight against Indian to divide et impera, divide and rule was caste, man, caste. It is 75 years after independence, you still can't get rid of it.
Says General
You can't get a national identity, pan-Indian identity. You must create these divisions. Now within the armed forces,
Doctor.
leave the armed forces alone. Can I beg of you? Leave us alone. God damn you if you can't do any good to your armed forces. You didn't get us the Rafale. You didn't get us the weapons and equipment that we needed. Can you leave us alone?
Okay.
And not go, berserk with your caste.
Okay.
It is
Dr.
destructive
Ranganathan,
of national identity.
this is a passionate cry from a person who's taken a bullet, from a person who has lost loved ones. He knows what he's talking about. He served this country with distinction. This is General Bakshi we are talking about. Doctor.
Rahul, I am blessed to belong to a country that has heroes like General Bakshi. So thank you, sir, for defending us and saving us in no small measure. Let me come to the topic straight away. Rahul Gandhi, and I say this with all responsibility, is the male version of Arundhati Roy. In fact, the resemblance is uncanny at all levels, if not absolute. Because it was Arundhati Roy who claimed that right-wing upper caste Hindutvavadi's army, Indian army, was responsible for perpetrating a war against Christians in Goa. When we liberated Goa, according to her, the Goa liberation was actually a war on Christians there. Rahul Gandhi is one step away from saying the same thing. But now I want to come to the other aspect. Everyone's spoken quite rightly about a very important issue. But can I also say this? The evil, diabolical doublespeak and hypocrisy of the Congress and Rahul Gandhi has in some small measure been exposed by my good friend Sanju, that they don't practice what they preach, that they've known for 40 years that the OBC percentage population of India is upwards of 35%, and yet for 30 years of their rule, they only had not more than 2.9% of all cabinet secretaries as OBCs. Why? And Rajiv Gandhi Foundation and so on and so forth. But I want to make an important point out here for people to think about, especially on this hallowed panel. Please tell me, Rahul, is the job of a scientist or a doctor, and I have tremendous reverence for our armed forces. I love them, I adore them. But is the job of a scientist or of a doctor any less important for the country than the job of a Jawan? The answer has to be no. You look at during COVID when our doctors were on the front line. You look at the war that we have won, Operation Sindoor. It's been won majorly because of Akash system developed by DRDO scientists. Then why, I ask you, is the Congress not clamoring for reservations in the armed forces or higher judiciary, but we have reservation and quota system in DRDO, in medical fields? Why? Is our job less merit-based than the armed forces?
Well,
this is a question that everyone has to ask.
Let me tell you.
Why are there two standards?
Well,
why are DRDO scientists subjected to quota?
I need to move on. No, so I'll just be very clear, viewers. Wherever there is an opportunity to create some sort of a vote bank, you'll see a bunch of opportunistic politicians land up. That's exactly what this is, viewers. That's exactly what this is, and we unfortunately are blessed with an opposition like this, viewers. And what do we do? What do we do, viewers? The choice is between either bringing in this institutionalized divisiveness, or, viewers, between a whole other bunch of people who think that today their surname entitles them to an opinion. That's just the basic fact. I need to move on because, viewers, again, this is a story that will shock you. because of the puerility, the daftness of the logic here. A viral video of an Indian woman purportedly in the United States, there you can see her sort of begging away, tearfully caught shoplifting in the United States, has triggered a fury of finger pointing here in India. A senior MP of the Trinamool Congress, the lady is right there in the middle of your screens, railing that this is not an isolated act, but because of a crisis of ethics, under what she termed is the hate-filled rule of unethical Bharatiya Janata Party regime. She said, very sad to see this. This is the second Indian woman caught shoplifting in the United States. A crisis of ethical behavior has gripped our land under the hate-filled, consistently unethical BJP regime, unquote. It's bizarre, viewers. How can a crime committed by some random Indian origin person in the United States suddenly become BJP's fault? Or has the opposition become so bankrupt that it looks for any excuse for Modi bashing at any cost? It's a fundamental question. Tausif Khan is here with us. He speaks up for the TMC. On most occasions, I'm sure you won't defend this now.
No, Rahul, it is very embarrassing, whether a person, regardless of, where the person comes from, whether from Gujarat or from any other state, it is really embarrassing. This is not a one-off incident. A few months ago, also similar incident took place.
No, so are you saying that because two incidents have taken place with regards to Indians or Indian origin people, that means the BJP is to blame for it?
So you see, I don't know whether you noticed this or not. All in these interviews, there is a sense of these women, who are taken in custody, that, maybe in the other video explicitly she's saying that I have extra money, I can pay for the goods and I have extra money.
No, I'm asking you, how is this the BJP's fault? I don't understand.
The idea...
No, how is this the BJP's fault?
I'm saying that, Rahul, the idea that you can bribe the police officer and went away just because you're not a Muslim, that works in India.
What?
And these Indians, unfortunately,
Rahul,
the
can I please come in?
Oh my
carries
God.
away with them.
This is a lawyer, an
The
intelligent
psyche
person.
that you can pay off.
You can pay off anybody, the psyche is because of the BJP. There was no corruption before the BJP came to power.
You see, the US police
Rahul.
department is very strict.
I mean,
Regardless of whether you are a
what
white
is
or a
this,
black,
viewers?
you will be prosecuted.
What
But
is
in
Can I
India,
please come in?
we have a
Absolute-
different police system.
Absolutely. Look at the puerility of the argument. I told you in the last debate, viewers, we are blessed with an opposition like this. What do you want to do? I mean, this is a cartoon show. I mean, if there was somebody, what is that
Narendra
camera?
Modi is doing a cartoon.
What is that gentleman,
in
that
India.
comedy gentleman, camera? What camera
when
is he?
people-
I
when
wish he
people
was
know
here because
that
he
they
would make a
can
great
bribe
video
the
on this
police
gentleman.
officer and
Yes,
go away.
yes, very quickly.
That does not work in
Dr.
America.
Ranganathan and Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, yes, very quickly, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Rahul, I have even, responded to Sagarika Ghosh's post on X. I am going to take names and I will just say this. You are very polite as an anchor. I'm under no compulsion to not, hit back as hard as it gets. If Sagarika Ghosh is blaming supposedly that Indian lady who I'm told is not an Indian but a Bangladeshi called Rubaiya Sultana,
It doesn't
that's
even
not
matter.
the point. The
Yeah.
point is, even if it were an Indian lady who was shoplifting, by that logic, Sagarika Ghosh, are you going to applaud Narendra Modi because Satya Nadella of Microsoft is Indian origin? Arvind Krishna, the head honcho of IBM, is Indian origin. Neil Mohan, Indian origin, heads YouTube. Shantanu Krishnan, Indian origin, heads Adobe. And then you have the likes of Raj Subramaniam, who heads FedEx. Vimal
Yeah, of
Kapoor of Indian origin, who heads Honeywell. And don't forget Srinivas Gopalan of Indian origin, who heads T-Mobile. And how can I forget Indian origin Jayashree Ullal, who heads Arista Networks. And how can I forget Sanjay Mehrotra,
Yeah, I mean,
who
it is
heads
bizarre.
Micron.
It's
I mean,
bizarre.
come on, Sagarika
I mean, this is
Ghosh.
absolutely bizarre,
Are you dumb
viewers.
or
Bizarre
are you
logic.
dumb?
Somebody does something, Dr. Ranganathan, in the United States, Modi is to blame for it.
No,
And
look, Rahul,
BJP
let's
is
be
to
honest.
be guillotined.
Yeah, guillotine.
Let's be honest, Rahul, Sagarika Ghosh is a shining example of everything that is wrong with our media and our legislature. Small mercy that she hasn't yet infiltrated our executive and our judiciary, but who knows, she might become a judge or a police commissioner of Bengal one day, why not? The best moniker ever invented by anyone, for anyone, was actually by the legendary media crooks who gave for Sagarika the title Category 5 moron. Women in Bengal are being encircled and beaten Taliban style. They are being gang raped inside hospitals, and those in charge of those hospitals are being promoted. They are being hounded for their journalism. UAPA is being slapped on them for their activism. They are being driven out of their homes for belonging to a party or an ideology. And yet, not a whisper of concern or condemnation. But some random woman of uncertain citizenship is caught shoplifting in some random country, and Sagarika Ghosh is quick to blame it on Modi with a screechy voice that would put to shame even an ungreased bicycle chain. Unbelievable. You can't even say, learn something from your spouse, he's worse. But every cloud, Rahul, has a silver lining. Howsoever depressed you may have become knowing that Sagarika is now a Rajya Sabha MP and is destroying our democracy from within, the silver lining is that she is no longer a journalist and therefore can no longer destroy it from within. God knows how this specimen ever got employed as a journalist. The only redeeming feature of her propaganda articles was that her trash was digital and no trees were cut to print it. Or quite honestly, I wouldn't even have wrapped my kachoris in it for fear of all that toxicity bleeding onto them. She is the OG
Rahul,
when it comes to fake narrative and propaganda.
I've run
Whether
out of
it be faking a live interview.
I need to come in for 10 seconds.
I've run out of time completely. I'm over it. My director is buzzing in my ear, so I'm really sorry. But viewers, this has become almost reflexive to blame Modi. Let's be sensible, because when you actually have reason to blame Modi, people won't believe you. I'll leave it at this.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
In the Women's Cricket World Cup. Joining us now is the woman of the moment, the player of the final of the 2025 ICC Women's World Cup and truly Destiny's Child. Shefali Verma is joining us. Shefali, thanks a lot for your time. Let me begin by asking you, how does it feel to be a world champion?
Absolutely, happiest moment for all of us.
But this is truly destiny for you, because आप ये World Cup squad का part भी नहीं थे, आपको semi-final से पहले squad में add किया गया और फिर आप final में player of the match रहे. तो एक तरह से ये जो पूरा एक आपका जो fate था, जो destiny है, वो पूरी हुई.
Yes, thanks to God मुझे उन्होंने यहाँ भेजा, and thanks to all of them, my family member, everyone, JSW, and जिसने भी support किया इस movement में, क्योंकि मेरा friend circle इतना अच्छा है, उन्होंने मेरे को इतना support दिखाया. I think वो support and भगवान ने मुझे यहाँ भेजा, and then teammates ने बहुत अच्छा support किया. They are very welcoming, they are very supportive. तो I think सबकी वजह से मैंने run किया और हम जीते.
बट जब आपको वो कॉल आया barely 2-3 days before the semi-final, तो तब आपके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा था? क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा स्टेज है ये semi-final में बुलाना, और semi-final भी ऑस्ट्रेलिया के खिलाफ था.
बहुत अच्छा लगा जब कॉल आया, एंड मैं उस टाइम में डोमेस्टिक खेल रही थी, तो क्रिकेट के टच में तो थी, मैं मैचेस भी खेल रही थी, एंड उसके बाद मुझे यही था कि मुझे बुलाया है, इस चीज मुझे खरा उतरना, उन्होंने मुझ पे कॉन्फिडेंस दिखाया, टीममेट्स ने एंड कोच कैप्टन जितने पूरे स्टाफ ने मुझ पे बिलीव दिखाया, मुझे बुलाया है. तो मैंने यही कोशिश की कितनी जल्दी मैं चीज़ों को ग्रैब करूं और कितनी चीज़ों को एक्सेप्ट करूं, सिंपल रखूं और अब काम रहूं, अपने आप पे बिलीव रखूं. तो आई थिंक उसके बाद में प्रैक्टिस सेशन भी थे, मैंने उस पर ज़्यादा वर्क किया, नेट सेशन में मैंने ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस की. तो आई थिंक ये सब चीज़ें जाके एक्सेप्ट करना और चीज़ों में यूज टू होना काफ़ी डिफिकल्ट था, बट आई थिंक अगेन प्लेयर्स ने बहुत सपोर्ट किया एंड बहुत अच्छी प्रैक्टिस की मैंने उस टाइम पे. तो आई थिंक बहुत अच्छा रहा सब.
But how did you feel when you weren't picked for the squad, when there were questions on your performances? उस वक्त का जो जो टाइम था वो कैसा रहा आपके लिए?
Well, absolutely, ये एज अ प्लेयर के लिए बहुत टफ रहता है, क्योंकि जब टीम से बाहर होते हो एंड आपको अपना बिलीव रखना इट्स नॉट अ सिंपल थिंग, बट आई थिंक ये सब चीजें मैंने एक्सेप्ट की जब मैं टीम से बाहर हुई थी, और मैंने सब चीजों को एक्सेप्ट करके आगे बढ़ी, और मैं ये सोच रही थी कि मैं इस टाइम पे अपने आप पे क्या काम कर सकती हूँ, और उस टाइम पे मैंने अपने आप पे बहुत वर्क किया, और सभी ने मुझे बहुत हेल्प किया.
But were you upset? Did you feel it was unfair that you were not part of the World Cup team?
वेल एज अ प्लेयर तो यही लगता है कि चलो मुझे क्यों नहीं लिया, बट जो भी है जो भी हुआ, अभी मैं यहाँ पे आई और हम वर्ल्ड कप जीते, मैं उसके लिए सबसे ज्यादा खुश हूँ.
So tell me something, this entire tournament and especially in the semi-finals and final, one thing that everybody is talking about is कि इस टीम में self-belief बहुत है और तभी इतनी अच्छी परफॉर्मेंसेज हुई है और किसी एक प्लेयर की वजह से नहीं हुई, आपके जैसे और प्लेयर्स ने भी हर मैच में कोई ना कोई परफॉर्मेंस करी है. हाउ वुड यू डिस्क्राइब दिस टीम जो सेल्फ बिलीफ की बात सारे प्लेयर्स भी कर रहे हैं और सारे एक्सपर्ट्स भी कर रहे हैं?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल. जैसे मैंने बोला, जब मैंने ही बाकी जैसे मेरे 6-7 दिन हुए टीम को ज्वाइन किए, जब मैंने ही आके टीम की पॉजिटिविटी देखी तो मुझे भी बहुत खुशी मिली, क्योंकि इस टीम में स्पेशली है कि सब एक दूसरे के कंधे पे हाथ रख के बोलते हैं चलो मैं तेरी हेल्प करूंगा. तो आई थिंक टीम में यही बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहता है, सबको बैक करना. और ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारी 11 टीम को ही बैक मिल रहा था, जो भी बाहर थे सब एक दूसरे को हेल्प कर रहे थे, सब एक दूसरे को थैंक यू बोल रहे थे मैच के बाद कि हाँ आपके इस वजह से हम जीते. तो सबका कंट्रीब्यूट था हर एक मैच में, चाहे कोई अंदर हो चाहे बाहर हो. एंड आई थिंक सब बहुत हेल्पफुल थे. जब एक टीम में यूनिटी बहुत अच्छी थी, एक टीम में यूनिटी बहुत अच्छी होती है तो ऑब्वियसली हम जीतते हैं. तो आज वो हुआ.
तो जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया के खिलाफ आप बैट करने आए, उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा रन्स नहीं बने, तो फाइनल से पहले क्या आप थोड़ा नर्वस थे कि अब तो एक ही मैच बचा है, आई हैव टू प्रूव माई सेल्फ एंड इट्स सच अ बिग स्टेज?
वेल एब्सोल्युटली. जब सेमीज में मुझसे रन नहीं बन पाए, एब्सोल्युटली सैड थी मैं बहुत. फिर जब हम जीते तो मैंने अपने आप को बोला कि एक और मेरे पास चांस है और मुझे ग्रैब करना है, चाहे मैं कैसे भी करूं. तो जो मेरे प्लान्स थे, जब मैं बैटिंग करने गई, वो अच्छे से एग्जीक्यूट हुए. सो आई एम सो हैप्पी कि मैंने फाइनल्स में टीम के लिए स्कोर किया.
No, but when we were watching you, आपकी इनिंग्स बहुत ही शानदार थी. You were really, bubbling with confidence and that typical Shafali Verma, demeanor on the pitch, and then आपने 2 wicket भी ले लिया, and those celebrations were absolutely amazing. Just share those moments with us while batting and while bowling.
वेल सबसे ज्यादा मैंने एंजॉय बॉलिंग में किया जब विकेट लिया, क्योंकि मैं आई हैव बोल्ड डोमेस्टिक में भी, मैं प्रैक्टिस भी करती रहती हूँ. तो आई थिंक बॉल जब डाली और विकेट मिली, क्योंकि वो बहुत क्रूशियल पार्टनरशिप चल रही थी, उस टाइम पे विकेट मिलना बहुत खुशी और बहुत ही अलग एक्साइटमेंट थी. वो मैं बयान नहीं कर सकती शब्द में, बट बहुत अच्छा लगा. आई एम सो हैप्पी.
And can you share some of the celebrations that you had after the match? I'm sure some of them were caught on camera, वो सब हमने देखा on field जो हुआ, but उसके बाद क्या हुआ?
उसके बाद सब खुश थे, सब मैच के बारे में बात कर रहे थे और सब सोच रहे थे कि कितना वुमेन्स क्रिकेट सपोर्ट मिला है, कितने लोगों ने जैसे जितने फॉर्मर क्रिकेटर्स थे, कैसे उन्होंने कितना इस वुमेन्स क्रिकेट की वजह से, उनकी वजह से हुआ है जो भी आज हुआ है, क्योंकि उनके वजह से ही सब कुछ हमें मिल रहा है. एंड हम तो गोल्डन पीरियड में एज ए यंगस्टर, मेन चीज तो उन्होंने सहारा है. तो थैंक्स टू ऑल ऑफ देम, थैंक्स टू एवरी लीजेंड कि उन्होंने ये गेम खेला और उनकी वजह से ही हम सब यहाँ पे कर पाए.
नो, इनफैक्ट ये जो चीज़ आप बात कर रहे हो, जिस तरह से झूलन गोस्वामी, रीमा मल्होत्रा, बाकी प्लेयर्स, अंजुम चोपड़ा, उनके साथ आपने सेलिब्रेशन शेयर किया, उनको ट्रॉफी दिया, तो ये जो एक्स प्लेयर्स हैं वो भी बहुत खुश हैं इस चीज़ से और उनको भी बहुत अच्छा लगा कि इस टीम ने उनको भी याद रखा.
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल. जब हमने सभी उन प्लेयर्स को देखा, हम सब ने उनके हाथ में ट्रॉफी दी, जैसे कि मैंने अभी बोला कि उन सब की वजह से आज ये हुआ है. तो आई थिंक हम सब ने भी उनको ट्रॉफी पकड़ने का मौका दे कि हाँ आप सब भी फील लो, आप सब की वजह से ये हुआ है.
एंड शिफाली, व्हाट डू यू मेक ऑफ द सेलिब्रेशंस?
Hello and good evening. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Vantage. Donald Trump is making headlines again, this time with a nuclear allegation that's triggered global concern. In a televised interview, Trump claimed that Pakistan has resumed nuclear testing. He didn't stop there. He also named Russia, China and North Korea, and then declared, "We are going to test because others are testing." Pakistan was quick to deny the claim, calling it baseless. China has also dismissed Trump's statement. Trump's remarks are not backed by evidence, but they have reopened an old fault line. They have put the world's focus back on Pakistan's nuclear program and raised the specter of a new global arms race. Also on the show, after Venezuela, why Trump has ordered a CIA op in Mexico. All about China's new shape-shifting missile. Why Starbucks is retreating from the Chinese market. How Typhoon Kalmegi has wreaked havoc in the Philippines. Why Indian students are facing record visa rejections. And why Sicily could soon become Europe's next dessert. But first, the headlines. Typhoon Kalmegi floods swathes of central Philippines. At least 26 people have been killed and hundreds of thousands have been displaced. Entire towns